Greetings, my glorious Adeptus Custodes. Today I will tell you the truth. And it is, alas, not the truth that is known in every corner of the Imperium, for our dark past is full of bitterness and suffering. Well, many of you are wondering how I know so much about the universe. Why do secrets hidden from even the most loyal servants of the Imperium lie within the pages of this diary? Events so far in the past and so far in the future. Well, I cannot tell the whole truth, not even to you, my loyal Custodes. I can only say that the events on Molech and my work with artifacts from the dark age of technology are to blame. In my research, I have seen the events of many worlds and eras of countless galaxies, but I never knew what it was. The Immaterium's desire to warp my mind, or just childish fantasies and nightmares, and nothing more. Orks, also called greenskins, are primitive creatures, but that is their strength, not their weakness. The more cultured races of the galaxy have underestimated the green-skinned more than once or twice, and it has almost always turned out to be a fatal mistake. What others take for stupidity is in fact a total focus on the goal and an unprejudiced determination to fight and win again and again. From the first days of exploration of the galaxy, mankind has had to compete with countless alien races for dominance over the stars. The Orks have been the most persistent and intrusive of all races, and that hasn't changed to this day. The green-skinned menace has been fought by everyone from the first settlers on distant worlds, back when the Imperium was not even in the plans. The reason for this endless struggle is simple and terrible. Orks live for one thing, and one thing only: to fight. The entire life of the Orks is dedicated to one and only one purpose: war. Every aspect of their society and culture is constantly turned to war alone. It is no exaggeration to say that Orks enjoy violence of any kind. They have a physical and emotional need for war, beating another Ork to death in a trifling dispute, or blowing up an entire world conspiracy. They only enjoy a good fight and nothing more. There's only one limitation here. Orks would rather get into a fight with someone who isn't green-skinned if they can, but they won't mind bashing each other's heads in if no one else is around. Fortunately for the Orks, there is no shortage of rivals in a galaxy that includes the Imperium of Humanity, the Eldar, the Tau, and many other races. This emphasis on violence has given rise to, or perhaps even originated from, the strong is always right attitude to life. That's why Orks are so dangerous. Their community works quite adequately despite being so inadequate. The boss is the biggest and strongest, and everyone else agrees that the biggest and strongest is the boss. And that's fine, because that's the way the world works, and if you don't agree, the boss will knock your teeth out. If you get bigger and stronger and take the boss down, you become the boss yourself. The strong is always right, is their only law. Orks don't waste time on more complicated philosophies, because in their opinion, any other way of organization just doesn't make sense. No one in their right mind would even listen to someone who is weaker. The origins of the Orks are lost in the darkness of millennia. Some believe the Orks are degenerate demons of chaos. Others hypothesize that Orks were artificially created as a warrior race, long ago by some ancient race, the Eldar or Khaton. Whatever the case, no one has ever seen the home world of the Orks, though they are widely dispersed throughout the galaxy. The Ork race is scattered throughout the galaxy, just like humans. But unlike humanity, Orks are divided into thousands of empires led by warlords. The warlords seek to conquer the territories of their neighbors, be they human, Eldar, or Ork. Wars continue until he himself is defeated in battle. It is in the nature of Orks. They always attack before they are prepared and never think ahead to the next battle. Imperial scientists have hypothesized that on the Orkoid homeworld, there was some intelligent race that was responsible for the emergence of the Orks. This race developed outstanding intelligence and became dominant over the span of several generations. They realized and developed technology, and even created the legendary, now largely lost, set of standard template designs of the Ork race. Historians believe that it was this race that started the expansion of the Orks into space. Now, a physically underdeveloped subordinate race, the Snotlings. They are supposedly the only living members of this lost race. The sudden rise in the intellectual level of the Snotlings in those distant times can only be explained as the result of some kind of catalyst. The Snotlings are symbiotic with the mushrooms they cultivate and eat. It is believed that these mushrooms grew in the underground dwellings of the ancient culture and caused a genetic mutation in the mental abilities of these ancient Snotlings. Generations later, a diet of these mushrooms stimulated brain growth and intelligence. According to ancient Ork legends, these intelligent beings, known as the legendary Brain Boys, were small in size and strength and artificially bred a subordinate race of warriors, the Orks, and servants, the Gretchens. But later on, the Orks came to dominate all races. This was most likely due to a catastrophe that caused the Snotlings to regress rapidly. Apparently, anticipating such a catastrophe, the ancient creators of the Ork race took care to make them as adaptable as possible to survive in any conditions. One of the elements of such adaptation was the introduction of information about technology, military art, etc., directly into the genetic code. Thus, an Ork knows from the very beginning how to survive, maintain weapons, and conduct military operations. Separate castes, Mickey, Doki, know how to make weapons and equipment, treat wounds. If you ask an Ork how he knows this, he will say, "It's in my blood." And he'd be right. Orks are incredibly strong and resilient. War does not wear them down, but rather, the contrary, it brings them prosperity. Orks don't get too upset when they get killed. It's just part of the excitement of battle, and the longer they stay alive, the more numerous and powerful they become. Being as hard as iron and taking complete pleasure in what you do is embedded in the Orks' genes. There is no such thing as less is better in Ork culture. For an Ork, more is better, and everyone agrees on that. This concept is the solid foundation upon which the green-skinned race rests. Orks were born long before the Imperium, and over thousands of years humans have learned that as the galaxy becomes more and more turbulent, the amount of energy in it increases. Strictly speaking, there is no way to measure this, but it can be noticed by the increase in the number of arising. The Orks see this as a truly good sign, and the next step towards the legendary great If the green-skinned were simple thugs, they wouldn't be such a problem. But the Ork race has information in their genes that manifests itself in the unusual guise. These are Orks who know from birth how to create something that will baffle scientists and engineers of other races. And this explains the prevalence and effectiveness of green bunglers. A mechaniac can take a random assortment of mechanical objects, junk, as anyone else would say, and create a marvel of engineering out of it. Take the teleporter, for example. Orks have managed to create a device to reliably move from planet to planet that solves a bunch of different problems in one fell swoop, but they use it to teleport brats right into the enemy, with explosive and bloody results. Orok doctors are no better. These doctors, if I may say so, combining Orok physiology and weird Orok science, literally fix severely wounded fighters. For example, putting severed heads back on at the end of a battle, and often to completely different bodies. With unusual guys, you can be sure of two things. Everything they do will produce incredible results and will be aimed at winning the battle. Just because Orks have innate knowledge doesn't mean they understand it at all. Where other races accomplish things through study or ritual, Orks just know how to do things and just do them. The path of trial and error in creating weapons and learning tactics is quite popular with Orks. Mortality is a very shaky concept for them. Orks don't care that a new idea can turn out to be a disaster. If a new gun exploded with the guys, fix a couple of little things and try again. The community and ecology of greenskins is so resilient that they can exist almost anywhere. The Imperium has encountered Orks and their kin who have inhabited, and even thrived, in such extreme environments as poisonous death worlds, newborn planets with still quiescent volcanoes, and the depressurized hulks of abandoned orbital stations. There were Orochi tribes that had taken possession of drifting ice flues and radiation-soaked asteroid fields dangerously close to active stars. They were found among caustic chemical swamps, in light-deprived nightmare worlds teeming with ghastly predators, and among the bombed-out remains of extraterminatus planets. There are rumors among Imperial free traders that Ork settlements lurk even in the Eye of Terror. But But no matter where and in what numbers they occur, the green-skinned are always a deadly threat that multiplies exponentially if left unchecked. In a matter of weeks, a small band of raiders can grow, as if by some mysterious alchemy, into a seething horde bent on war and destruction. The other races of the galaxy have many speculations as to why orc numbers are increasing so rapidly, ranging from the idea of spontaneous fission to claims of posthumous release of spores that are later blown around by the wind. The famous Vandermeist theory states that the green-skinned inhabit a separate pocket of reality and simply fall out of it, fully formed, wherever their kin fight. While many of these wild assumptions are clearly ridiculous, it is safe to say that where one orc has appeared, new ones will not be far behind. And given their restless belligerence and their tendency to grow and grow stronger with each battle, it is easy to see how the rampaging orcs are so quick to deal with the planet's defenses. In a matter of weeks, the naked band of green-skinned orcs that escaped the wreckage of the ship and disappeared into a corner of the city will return as a horde of bloodthirsty savages, sweeping away everything in their path and hungry for conquest. Those who were not killed will be enslaved, and what is not destroyed will be looted. And soon another world will fall into the clutches of the orcs, its cities in ruins, and its inhabitants in chains slaving for their fierce green overlords. Those who have experienced the hardships of orc settlements firsthand, and somehow miraculously survived, have described their civilization as highly hierarchical. A greenskin's life is defined not by position or birth, but by its size and ferocity. The largest orcs lorded over their smaller brethren, who in turn forced the dwarf race of slaves known as Gretchens to serve them. Carrying things, helping the mechs build stuff, sharpening and filing tools for the healers. It takes a lot of Gretchens to do all of this. If a green guy runs out of ammo, a Gretchen with handfuls of spares will rush in at a loud shout. The biggest orcs usually have a whole bunch of groats on the run. A well-trained grot is considered almost as useful as a spare chopper, and while an orc won't be too upset if one dies, if another orc tries to borrow a grot, it's cause for a good fight. Snotlings or morals are relatives, even smaller in size, of Gretchens. Tiny, weak, and incredibly stupid, Morels would not survive were it not for the innate gift of caring for squigs, who play a vital role to orc society. Squigs also serve as and ready source of entertainment, acting as targets, ammunition, and, if seriously hungry, food. The greenskins are like a cancerous tumor in the body of the galaxy. For in the place of every shaky empire we burn to the ground, a new one will arise, bigger and stronger. That is the nature of the orcs, and that is why their race is so hard to destroy. They must be eradicated, or they will come back stronger, again and again, until there are too many of them.